We are now going to look at the Greek participle in various tense forms. In chapter 26, we did an overview of the participle and noted its importance, and now we begin with the present or continuous adverbial participle. Though there are a number of things to memorize in the next few chapters and a new master chart to master, I trust that you'll make time and press forward. Greek participles are essential for translation, for exegesis, and can be a lot of fun in learning the language. Let's review. What are participles? They're verbal adjectives. They are built upon a verb or in a particular tense stem, present, aorist, perfect, that we'll look at in that order in chapters 27 and 28 and 29. And they have voice, active, middle, and passive. And they also have an adjectival function. They agree with the noun they modify by matching case, number, and gender. And so, as we noted in chapter 26, we'll note more specifically in chapter 27 the noun case ending chart and the master case ending chart. As verbal adjectives, participles can do two things. They can modify verbs. They function adverbially to modify a verb. In this function, they are anarthrous. They do not have a definite article, and they modify a verb. Or two, they function adjectivally as attributive or substantival adjectives, in which case they may or may not have a definite article. So, verbal adjectives built on a verb, adjectival endings according to the noun master case ending chart, and first and second and third declension. We'll talk about that in a few moments. They modify verbs or function adjectively, modifying nouns. The formation of the participle. And we've seen this kind of a formation chart throughout our time in Greek 2, and now we see it again. A verb stem, usually a connecting vowel or tense formative, participle morpheme, and noun case endings. You can see the examples there for present, aorist, and perfect. This is the participle morpheme chart, and you notice that the masculine and neuter active use third declension endings, feminine first, masculine neuter middle passive. For the present tense or continuous participle, use second declension in the middle and passive, and feminine first in both. So this morpheme is a hook, if you will, to help you to know what tense form you are in. The analogy that comes to mind is, imagine you're traveling, you're at a large airport, and you're going to baggage claim, and there you have placed on your bag a pink ribbon and a green ribbon or a red piece of tape or something so that you can identify your bag in the midst of 100 bags that are on the baggage claim dispenser. Well, in the same way, think of these participle morphemes as a tag to help you know what the word is. And we have noticed already that the formation of the participle has many parts, and generally participles are longer. So if you see longer words, you should maybe start thinking, well, that could be a participle. And then look at the morpheme chart here and see if you can begin to identify. Nu tau together in masculine and neuter active, usa in feminine, meno and mene middle passive. We've thought about the master noun case ending chart, and this is from Mounts, page 83. On the left, the third declension, that corresponds with the active participle in the present or continuous form. And middle passive uses second declension endings. We will come back to this chart later. For now, let's look at the active participle, the present continuous active participle. The present tense stem, a connecting vowel, the active participle morpheme, nu tau, and case endings, which here, epsilon sigma, is the nominative plural masculine ending. So we have the components, and here's the full paradigm for luon. A couple of notes to make. As we have noticed at times along the way, the noun rules that we've learned in Greek 1 in the first semester surface in Greek 2 as well. Nominative singular, luon, and nominative singular masculine luon and neuter luon. In the masculine, a no case ending is used. The tau drops. It cannot stand at the end of a word. And here the omicron lengthens to omega to compensate for that loss. So luon. Similar in the neuter, except there is no lengthening of the omicron, and thus the circumflex over the upsilon and not the acute accent there. Notice in the nominative singular and accusative singular, nominative plural, accusative plural, neuter, those are identical. Luon, luon, luonta, luonta. And accusative singular, masculine, luonta is the same as the nominative and accusative plural. So there's some regularity there. Also, the genitive and dative singular, masculine and neuter are the same, and genitive and dative plural, masculine and neuter. How then would we know whether we're dealing with something masculine or neuter? Context will help us to determine meaning. Notice again the endings here in the paradigm of luon and the master noun case ending chart. This will just need to be committed to memory or be very familiar with it to identify what case the participle is. Here's the paradigm of ami, third declension for masculine and neuter, first for feminine. And here you have a very close to the participle morpheme. Nu tau, notice in the masculine and neuter, and usa in the feminine. The verb ami, if you memorize this, will help you to know pretty closely the participle morpheme and what it looks like in various words. So the active participle being identified, now we look at the middle passive. Still present tense stem, connecting vowel, middle passive participle morpheme, meno, and case endings. And here is the paradigm of the present continuous middle passive participle for luo. Notice again the regularity of the neuter, nominative and accusative singular, nominative and accusative plural. And the similarity as well in the genitive and dative singular, genitive and dative plural between masculine and neuter, so we're dependent upon context, and the middle passive present or continuous participle genitive plural is the same all the way across. Luamenon, luamenon, luamenon. Once we have that master case ending chart down and the present active and middle and passive participle, we are on our way to thinking about other tense stems of the participle chart. Here we begin the master participle chart. We looked at the master verb chart, and hopefully that's still fresh in our memory. It would be good to review it. And notice the final column, the 6 memory forms. This is nominative and genitive for masculine, feminine, and neuter across the board for active and middle passive. The memory forms, the endings is what the memory forms are. So own, if you see Omicron new at the end of a word, what should you think? Think present or continuous, nominative masculine singular, present active participle. If you see USA at the end of a word, think feminine, nominative feminine singular, present active participle. If you see, go down to middle passive, if you see amenes, you should think genitive singular, present middle or passive, a feminine genitive singular, middle or passive participle in the present tense form, amenes. So learning these 6 memory forms, on, usa, on, ontos, uses, ontos, gets your mind started in that particular section of the paradigm. So here you have nominative and genitive for present active and present middle passive participles. Continue to go over this. On, usa, on, ontos, uses, ontos, and then present middle passive, amenos, amene, amenon, amenu, amenes, amenu. And commit those to memory. Remember that the translation and exegesis of continuous adverbial participles can be thought of as climbing a ladder, starting with the temporal idea to causal, purpose, manner, means, conditional, or concession of some kind. These are the various most common nuances that an adverbial participle will provide in modifying the verb, explaining the time, the cause, the purpose, manner, means, condition, and sometimes a concession, although. And keep those in mind. Vocab starter for the week. On a bino, I hear the rhyme on a vine. On a bino, I think on a vine. I go up or ascend if I'm climbing a vine in the jungle. On a bino, I ascend or climb on a bino. Archireus, hierarch or hierarchy, a high priest, archireus. Dexios, dextra means right hand, dexios. Again, the more creative that you can be, the more visual, the more auditory, using as many senses as possible will help you to memorize words. And once you have the definition down, the bridge will dissipate over time, and you want to be able to know what that word means. This wraps up then the present continuous adverbial participle, and we are on our way to making progress in exegesis and translation as we learn participles.